Welcome to A Double
Double
and Dice
with your host Kim.
and Jocelyn.
Pour your favorite beverage
Pull up a comfy chair.
because we are ready to roll. Time,
Space.
reality.
It's more than a linear path
It's a prison of endless possibilities.
where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities.
Creating alternate worlds from the ones you know.
We are the Watchers.
We are your guides through these vast new realities.
Follow us and ponder the question.
What if?
Dice Masters was not published by WizKids. So very interesting topic.
It is, right? I mean, what if?
Mhm.
What if Dice Masters was published by a different publishing company? So, what publishing company could it have been published by?
Yep. So we actually did some research on this.
Research. We actually did stuff. We planned it and everything.
I know, we actually planned it because we went out and tried to find the most popular kind of card games out there. Now, not with dice though.
Well, that's the thing, right?
Yes.
And I've heard WizKids talk about this before, about Dice Masters and the collectible nature of it. And I can't remember where it was. It might have actually been on the Ministry of Dice podcast when they had Justin Zirin on. And he talked about how the challenge with Dice Masters is it's not just cards and it's not just dice. It's matching collectible cards and collectible dice together in a single package. And how WizKids has experience with that type of thing because of HeroClix, right? Because HeroClix has a card and a figure,
Right.
and they match them up and it's collectible. And that it's a more challenging process than just printing cards, which totally makes sense if you think about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just print cards, there's nothing to match it up to. So the concept of just making a game that just prints cards is easier to manufacture, as well as probably easier to ship and cheaper to ship because dice are heavy,
Right. Yep.
than it is to make just a game that has cards in it.
Yep. And I think that's what makes Dice Masters so unique.
Yes, definitely. It's what makes
There's
Dice
nothing
Masters
else
unique.
like it out there.
Certainly not in the collectible space that we're aware of. So let's talk about the two, I guess, most popular card games that we're aware of in the world, with an honorable mention for the third. So with the research that I was able to complete, it's very interesting because Pokemon trading card game and Magic the Gathering have similar sort of information that I've been able to find out. And Magic the Gathering came out first in 1993, and then the Pokemon card game came out in 1996. But the difference is that more people play Magic, whereas more people collect Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking at games that people play, Magic the Gathering, which is published by Wizards of the Coast and was the first ever trading card game, collectible card game, whatever kind of card game you want to call it, TCG, CCG,
All
here's
the
cards,
Gs.
play a game, right? It was the first one. It was the I guess it became the platform. That's not what I'm looking for. What's the word? The stencil, not the stencil. You know what I'm trying to
Yes.
You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? The basis of games that come after it, which also makes sense when you think about how Dice Masters has mechanics that are similar to some of these card games, like Magic the Gathering, like Pokemon, like Lorcana, all of those types of things. And Lorcana is the honorable mention because obviously it's the biggest thing since sliced bread these days.
We'll get into we'll get into that one later. Go keep going.
So Magic is the most popular game. Wizards of the Coast is the people that came out with it, and they created their own world. So they weren't using an intellectual property
Right.
in the same way that Dice Masters does, because everything that Dice Masters has is an intellectual property that's been licensed from a comic book company like Marvel or Disney, Marvel or Disney, Marvel or DC,
They got Disney
Marvel or
probably
DC
crazy.
Comics, or Yu-Gi-Oh was licensed, Dungeons and Dragons is licensed, Turtles was licensed,
Yu-Gi-Oh,
WWE, all of it, like it's all licensed property. So it's they're basing their game off of other people's content, essentially, which I would imagine comes with a cost, because you have to pay people for the rights to use their art and get sign-offs on the ability to the abilities on the cards and the dice and what they look like and the stats and things like that, right? Like that's one of those things with intellectual property. You have a license to do certain things, but you still need sign-offs.
Mm-hmm.
And those things are not free
No.
for anyone who's uncertain. Whereas Magic was able to create their own world, which comes with a different set of costs, such as hiring people to do the art, hiring people to build the world that you're making the cards out of. I don't know what those costs are, but from the research I was able to pull, as of February 2023, approximately 50 million people play Magic around the world, and Magic is published in 11 languages. So now I know that Dice Masters once upon a time was distributed in at least 3 languages: English, French, and German.
Yeah, but I don't think like recently or anything like that.
No, like in the beginning.
Languages.
Yeah. So, and then Pokemon has quite a lot of people that collect it, because it's what's the phrase, Kim?
Gotta catch them all.
That's right. Gotta catch them all. And a lot of people that get into Pokemon tend to start when they are younger, because their friends are doing it, and it's collectible and they trade it, and that's kind of where they go. And I know, like, even my 4-year-old nephew is like, I want Pokemon cards, and he has no idea what to do with them.
Yeah, same with my son.
Right. And I remember Rob's nephews, when they were growing up, they were into Pokemon at one point. So Rob was like, okay, I'll learn how to play Pokemon. And he bought some decks and he learned how to play the game. And his nephews had no interest in playing.
No.
They just wanted to collect the cards.
Yep. Actually, Pokemon is funny because Pokemon is terrible in schools. It's like banned. Yeah.
You were saying that, right? Noah's not allowed to take his...
No, you're not allowed to, because they because kids don't know the value of cards. And they don't know, like, I'm trading a $100 card for a $2 card. So they don't know the value of it. So what happens is they trade it with their friends who may know the value of the card. And then you get crying happening. And then, you can't get the card back. You trade it, all the stuff happening. So because of those things happening in the schools, they banned it. So you have to kind of do it outside the school. But I think that's the biggest thing, is it's some of these cards are valuable, right? I don't know Magic cards are valuable or not.
Oh, Magic cards are absolutely valuable, particularly if you have really old ones. Have we ever talked about the Black Lotus card?
No. So by the way, if anybody knows, Jocelyn's a Magic a Magic player now.
I am not a Magic player now. I am dabbling in Magic, says the person who's dabbling in Lorcana.
Well, I just started. I played my first game ever like last week.
And I've played like 4 games of Magic. So...
But you've bought product.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've drafted.
Yeah.
That's more than dabbling.
I have drafted. I haven't bought product. Rob bought product.
He'll get you there.
Okay, so Magic the Gathering Black Lotus sells for approximately $540,000 US.
Is that one of those cards? Was that the hype card that was like going on like a few years ago or something like that?
Yeah, it's like the most expensive card ever.
And probably hard to get.
Oh yeah, it's super rare. So let's see, $540,000 US is approximately 731,000 Canadian dollars at this moment. That's enough to buy like a decent house.
Yeah.
Or
Out
at
in the
least
boonies.
well, I mean, you could get like a good sized condo for that in the
Yeah.
Toronto area. If you're looking at a house, you'd have to go a little further afield. Like the area that I live in is a little bit more expensive than that. But if you go a little bit out of the greater Toronto area, you could buy a house for that.
I'm
One
curious to
card,
find out
buy a house.
what the most expensive Pokemon card is.
Okay.
Okay. Today, and I don't know what they mean by today, so this was December 2023. The Pikachu Illustrator is the most expensive Pokemon card sold. Okay. Pikachu Illustrator card. I guess it goes for 1.275 million in June 2021.
5.275 million.
1.275 million. Yeah. That's how they wrote
what
it.
I have says 5.275 million.
Looks like it's in Japanese. The picture I'm looking at. Oh, that's a different card. That looks very old school.
Yeah. So I mean, there's definitely collectors in there, right? That are getting these rare, super rare cards. Well, I mean, I think the most expensive Magic card is that One Ring that just came out, right? In the Lord of the Rings set.
Well, yeah, maybe that was the one that I was thinking of.
So the One Ring card, what did it sell for? It sold for over $2 million US. So it was actually found in Toronto. It was a store in Toronto that opened it. A person who lived in the Toronto area bought it in Toronto. And it was flown to, I think, California to be authenticated, and then it was bought by Post Malone.
It's crazy.
For over $2 million.
How lucky.
But there's only one of those cards ever.
Why was only one?
Because it's the One Ring. Because it's the Lord of the Rings. It is the One Ring. So obviously Dice Masters cards aren't that expensive.
No, there's nothing worth even close to $100. I don't know.
Not these days.
No.
Sure. So, but the question is if Dice Masters was distributed by a different company, what would that be like? Would it be more popular? So some of the research that we did indicated, how Magic became popular. So Magic became popular because nothing had ever been created like Magic before.
Mm-hmm.
It was brand new. It was designed to be different than a typical board game. It was designed to be collectible. There was nothing like it when it was designed. So when you're the first and you do it well, then you tend to become pretty popular. So they did it well. It was word of mouth that started with Magic, getting things going. And then it also talked about the popularity of licensing the stores. Like the stores had to apply to be licensed to run their events. And then they have Friday Night Magic, which happens at thousands of stores every Friday night. So everybody plays on Friday night. That's kind of the idea. So they built this whole ecosystem around product releasing on a regular schedule, using their own content that they've created as opposed to having to license someone else's content, and then just being the first, which has gotten people interested in doing that. So now there's tons of games like this. So we've talked about Pokemon. We've touched on the word Lorcana, which unless you've been living under a rock, you're familiar with that because that's the new Disney trading card game that's being published by Ravensburger. And then there's other things, right, Cam? What else is there?
There's Keyforge, which I think was very popular but kind of died and it's coming back.
Yeah, so that was interesting, Keyforge, because Keyforge, let's back up. Magic and Pokemon and Lorcana are like trading and collectible card games where the design is you make your own deck. You can buy pre-made decks to get yourself into it, or to get cards, but then the idea is that you create your own deck. What was different about Keyforge is that Keyforge came with pre-made decks that could not be interchanged, but each deck was unique.
Right. You wouldn't see the same deck anywhere.
There were
else.
Yeah. So they built the decks for you, which took the team building or deck building concept away from the game, which could make it more accessible in some ways for people because you don't have to think about putting a deck together, putting a team together, but at the same time, it also reduces creativity. And not every deck is going to have the same playability or play style. And if you get a deck that maybe doesn't suit you, then maybe it's going to leave a bad taste in your mouth. Whereas if you could modify that deck and adjust it to your own playstyle, which is what most of the other games do, that might make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't know a ton about Flesh and Blood aside from the fact that it's still pretty popular.
Yeah, I don't know much about it either. Nor I don't even know the mechanics of it, how it's played or whatnot.
I mean, it seems like most of these games, Dice Masters included, base a lot of their mechanics off of the starting point, which is Magic.
Yeah, right? And they probably just have their own little twist to it.
Yeah, so, Dice Masters twist is that there's dice. Right? So
yeah, and it is funny because it is it's still it's first of its own. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So going back to what you were saying, where it's the way you market it, right? It's the way you go about getting it out there in the world and things like that. And these companies doing something right.
Yeah, so according to this quick little search I did on Flesh and Blood, it says that there's over 50,000 players, which is quite a big difference between 50,000 and 50 million.
Yep, and I think they have like booster packs and stuff, so I'm assuming you can make your deck.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
and yeah, it's collectible for sure. According to Andrew Smith from the website Board Game Quest, Flesh and Blood is similar to Magic the Gathering, but easier to learn.
Okay. I'm guessing Flesh and Blood is unique characters, right?
Yeah, I think it's its own
world as well. Yeah,
own
universe,
world,
whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's it's a little bit different. But so anyway, so where were we? So Magic, Pokemon. Okay, so talk about Lorcana, Kim.
I just played it for the first time ever a week ago. Yeah, I just bought a starter set. Went with it. It's a 60 card deck, which you can also, it's one of those you can build yourself pretty much too, if you want to build your own deck. Because they do have booster packs and all these things. Now I haven't played much TCGs, LCGs, CCGs. I played a little bit of Keyforge. And I played a little bit of, you ever heard of Dragon Ball Z? Yeah, I played a little bit of that. But not really much thing. So Lorcana it's easy to pick up. It's not that hard if you understand the concept of how like these games are played. Right? And
by these games, we don't just mean card games, but just board games in general, because they are all kind of based on the same type of mechanics.
Yeah. If you just know you play a card, you do this A, B, C with the card. You attack, whatever, defend, do these. That's pretty much what it is, right? And Lorcana is kind of like that. Each deck does its own thing. Again, you can make your own decks if you buy booster things and make your own decks, or switch back and forth between the starters and make your own. Only playing a couple of games. I would have to play it a few times, like the deck I have. I'm nowhere near making decks right now, right? So it's just pretty much playing it, see if I enjoy it, if it's something fun to just pick up and play. And obviously cost is quite my point right now, so it's not an expensive starter pickup.
Yeah, the starter sets are not expensive, but some of the cards can be very pricey.
Yeah, I mean, if you buy a booster and you can get what they call an enchanted card, which is their most rarest card you can get, it could be worth a couple $100, maybe more. So
yeah.
But it's Disney. So again, all your Disney people who are hardcore Disney will be attracted to it. Most like probably not playing. Maybe it can collect as a card game, right? Because
it can, yeah, like anything that has art
yes,
and rarity and attractiveness, there's a collectible element to it, right? Sort of like we said with Pokemon, that Pokemon is more collectible. People collect Pokemon more than they play it. Not to say it's not popular. There are plenty of people that play Pokemon. There's tournaments all over the place, right? So that's a thing. Taking a look at Flesh and Blood here, it looks like it came out right before the pandemic, and it came into North America from New Zealand.
Oh.
So I'm just reading an article here on ICV2, which talks about how trading card games or collectible card games grow and gain in popularity. So it's an interesting sort of perspective, and it probably lines up, Kim, to your experience with other games. They all seem to go through boom and dip phases of growth, which I could see is also similar with Dice Masters. So in the boom phase, it's new to the market. There's enthusiasm behind the game, driving prices potentially up. Product scarcity is there. So if you think about Dice Masters, AVX was hard to find, which was the first set that was launched. And then it made it difficult for people to sort of get into the game. If you think about Lorcana, similar thing. There was a lot of buzz around the game when it was being launched by Ravensburger, a lot of pre-release buzz, them showing it at gaming conventions before it was able to even be released. I remember UK Games Expo last year. Anyway,
probably
yes.
last year.
2023 UK Games Expo. Product wasn't even being officially sold yet, but they had like pre-release events, and you could go and get product, and you could get special collector cards. They did the same thing with Gen Con, and then about a week after Gen Con, it officially launched, but there was no product. There was nothing available, which created that demand of people who hadn't got in there yet. They wanted to avoid the FOMO. They wanted to avoid the fear of missing out, and they wanted to get into this game, but they couldn't get it. So that can create frustration, but it also creates exclusivity.
I want it. I want it. I want it.
I want it, and I can't have it.
Yeah.
Right? Then you move into the dip phase, and the dip phase can be a couple of different things, which is there's no longer exclusivity. There's too much product, or there are people that have the FOMO and just decided they don't want to get interested anymore, so they're not even going to try because they can't get it, so they've walked away, and then the prices start to drop, and
they could be just already looking for more product, new product already,
looking for something new. What's the next thing that's new and shiny? Right? What's different? I've already figured out this game, let's figure out the next thing, without giving the game a chance to sort of grow and develop. And then it comes, if you want to come out of that and get back into another boom, is you've got to find a way to come into that phase of long-term sustainability of sales and growth. So one of the ways to do that is to make sure that there's product releasing, that there's events happening to create awareness of the event, and then of the product, and then obviously you need to be able to have product that you can sell. What's that other one? One Piece. Right?
Yeah, One Piece.
One Piece exploded last year. Bandai makes that one. And it's a trading card game. And from everything I've heard, I have not played One Piece, but it plays similar to other trading card games. It probably doesn't have the complexity of something like Magic the Gathering because it's new. And I think Bandai makes a bunch of card games, and I think they just sort of use IPs as like skins kind of thing. Yeah. So
I feel like they're more like
one Bandai game, you can play others.
Anime related.
Yeah, One Piece is an anime. Yeah. And Bandai, I think, is generally focused on anime type games. So
so it just tailored to a different market.
Yeah, and if you can get back to that growth phase where you're getting more people interested again, or getting that second wave of people interested again after the dip, then you're starting to build that consistency in play. And I see a little bit of that if I think about the history of Dice Masters. So it came out to very strong reviews in 2014, 2015. It won awards. It was being advertised by WizKids, who is the maker of the game. It was also being advertised by like third parties. There were people doing reviews on it. Content creators popped up, started creating information about the game that they liked it, and they become the game's ambassadors. But it didn't ever get to a point where there was like a Friday Night Magic, right? There wasn't a Monday Night Dice Masters
Yeah.
in the world. And then people couldn't get product, which was challenging. Then they printed way too much Uncanny X-Men, which then, of course, meant that product drove its price down. And then they had the feast and famine release schedule. So things would come out, and then you'd have big gaps, like right now. And then you would get everything like all at once. So if you think about the last bunch of years, we had, campaign boxes release, and then Avengers Infinity Gauntlet was supposed to release. It got delayed. There was a pandemic. It released, and then there was 2 years before product, and then we got 2 sets within 3 months of each other in 2023. 2022.
Yeah, we didn't get anything last year.
No, we got Secret Wars last year.
Oh, that must have been really early on, right?
Yeah, it was spring. So we got Superman Kryptonite Crisis, and we got Dark Phoenix Saga, not in that order. And they came out within 3 months of each other or so. And then we had almost a year, like 8 months, and then we got Secret Wars, and then now there's been nothing. It's just crickets, right?
And yeah, I mean, planning is also another big thing too. Knowing how to plan these products out, when to release them, and keep your people engaged, really.
Yeah, and understanding that there are extenuating circumstances, like take the pandemic out of the equation. There were many years where product came out very quickly, back to back, and that doesn't give people enough time, A, to play with the product, or B, to buy the product, because not everyone has unlimited funds. And then you have these big sort of droughts where there's months and years without product in between. And that makes it harder for people to stay engaged, because with these types of games, as we've talked about in the past, there is that new and shininess that you're looking for. I've already played all these cards. I've already found the best cards. I've solved the format. This is the best team. And that is challenging, because then what do you play, right?
I know, and it's not like you're building a 60 deck card. You're building 8, 10. So, I mean, but yeah,
like I just did a quick search here. Magic the Gathering's 2024 release schedule. They have product releasing. They have a scheduled product to release every month between January and August.
January,
and then they've announced.
August. Okay.
Yeah, so January, February, March, April. May, June, July, August. So in January they launched Ravnica Remastered. In February it's Murders at Karlov Manor. In March it's The Fallout, which is based on the Fallout video game. Then they have something called Outlaws of Thunder Junction planned for April. Then there's nothing planned for May. Modern Horizons 3 in June. Assassin's Creed in July. Something called Bloomborough in August. And then in Q4, they just have listed Duskmourn House of Horror.
Ooh, Assassin's Creed is a video game.
Assassin's Creed is a video game. So is Fallout.
Yep.
Right.
So they have some, but mostly that sounds like video games. Or they did movies. Yeah. They did Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and they've also, which is also a book, Lord of the Rings. Source material. And they've announced that Disney is going to be partnering, like Marvel is going to be partnering with Magic, right? So that announcement has come out. The timeline I don't think has come out. So, what are the things that I see that are happening in other companies? There are press releases. There's media coverage. There's consistency in play at the store. There's high-level competition, which is not the only way to play, but it exists and creates sort of buzz around the product. Like maybe it's just the people I hang out with, but I hear lots about like Pokemon regionals and Magic the Gathering competitive events and competitive circuit and all that sort of stuff. Same thing with Flesh and Blood. I hear a little bit about the Flesh and Blood competitive games, the competitive tournaments, world championships, international competitions, etc. And that's something that we don't have with Dice Masters. So is that something that we would have if another company published the product? I don't know. And then there's the cost, right? The cost of the game. So I do feel that Dice Masters is affordable for the amount of playability and the flexibility and sort of that game of chance with the rolling of the dice. Because when you buy a draft pack, for example, you get 15 cards, 12 cards plus 3 basic actions, 2 dice per character or 2 dice per card for like $15, right?
Yeah, about that, yeah.
So $15 will buy you 2 or 3 packs of Magic, which are just cards. They're collectible cards, but it's in that ballpark. But again, it's a lot easier and probably less expensive because it's just paper, basically, right?
Yep.
These other games also have online components.
Yeah.
Magic has Arena, right? Magic the Gathering Arena. Pokemon has, I think there's an online
it's like
version.
Pokemon Online, or there's an
Yeah.
app, or it's purely online. I can't remember. They changed it at some point.
And then throw in Pokemon Go.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Which is a video game, which is on your phones. It's a mobile phone game, but creates interest in the Pokemon world, which could port people over to the physical card game.
Lorcana hasn't gotten there yet.
No, but Lorcana is still very new.
And looks like they release every 3 months since they started.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another one coming out in May.
Yeah, and then with Lorcana, you also had the controversy, which created a lot of interest in it because of there was a lawsuit, right?
Yeah, with the company or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they hired people from Upper Deck. Upper Deck is a card company.
Mm-hmm.
So they hired... they said that the person that Ravensburger hired from Upper Deck pilfered an original TCG design from Upper Deck. It says the lawsuit outlined the apparent similarities between Rush of Ecor and the Disney Lorcana. But with that said, having watched you and Matt play Lorcana on stream, Kim, it felt very much like Magic.
Yeah. So, did it drive you to buy Lorcana?
I'm interested in trying it out because the theme is something that, I really like. And that does make a difference.
Yeah.
Theme makes a difference.
And I mean, I played Magic only ever once in my life, and that's to learn how to play. The only thing that draws me back from Magic is the price point.
Yeah, is it expensive?
Well, yeah, if you need a commander deck, it's already built deck, it's like $50. And plus, I'm going to say plus, because there's some decks out there that are like 80.
Yeah, and I mean, you can get very expensive Magic decks that are whether pre-built or, if you have to buy all the cards to make them, for example, they can be quite expensive.
But if you're looking for a already built deck, which I believe is a commander deck,
yeah,
I've never seen anything cheaper than $50.
But a commander deck also has twice as many cards in it.
Yeah, I don't know how much
cards,
you
right?
have to use in Magic. I have no idea what the minimum is.
In Commander, it's a minimum 100.
Yeah.
Whereas a Lorcana deck is what, 60 or
60?
Yeah, and with Magic, if you're playing like in a draft format, your minimum card count I think is 40.
In a Magic draft?
Yeah, and that includes your lands, which is your energy, or mana as they call it. And you don't necessarily have those in your draft packs. The store has a bunch of lands, and when you build your team around, you build your deck around colors. You pick out how many of the colors of the lands that you need in each of your colors, and you put them into your deck, which is something like average between 14 and 17, depending on your deck. So your deck may only have 23 cards in it.
Because those are energies to buy things, right?
That's right. Yeah, they're different colors. Like water is blue and green is forest, and
it was a very, very long time since I played Magic.
Yeah. So, and I don't know what black is technically called, or white I think is plains. Anyway. But yeah, so they all seem to have very similar type mechanics. And everything seems to be based back on Magic the Gathering. So coming back to the question, what if Dice Masters wasn't published by WizKids, would it be more popular? I think that it's not necessarily the publisher that's the challenge.
Yeah, but the publisher could be doing it. Well, as I say, they're doing something right. Right?
Are they?
I don't know. Look how popular Magic is. Look how popular Pokemon is. What are they doing?
No, I meant Dice Masters.
Oh, they're not doing anything right. Not Dice Masters.
Oh, Kim, that's a very bold statement.
Well, it is. Look how much. Look. You just went through the whole in, down, up, down, right? It went up, down, up.
I mean, there have been people that have come back into Dice Masters or have joined it later. Like, I wasn't there at the beginning. And look, I have a podcast about it.
Yeah. But Magic's been around for how many years?
Since 1993.
Okay.
And it's 2024.
Yeah. So for them to keep going, they're doing something right.
Yeah. So, I mean, what if Dice Masters was distributed by a different company and they were following the formula of the other companies, then maybe Dice Masters could be more popular. Maybe there would be more awareness because there would be things like the press releases and, the buzz and the consistent gameplay and everything else. But you still have to get people into the door. And that's, I think, the thing that is the biggest challenge. So, the awards for WizKids for Dice Masters dried up in 2016?
Something like that, yeah. And yeah, like Wizards of the Coast, very popular. Ravensburger, popular. Fantasy Flight Games, popular, right? Actually, Fantasy Flight Games has quite a few card games.
Yeah, what card games do they do?
Well, they do Keyforge. They do the new Star Wars Unlimited that just came out. I know nothing about it, so I don't know. They do Marvel Champions.
So talk about Champions, Kim.
Marvel Champions?
You know that game, don't you?
Yeah. So it's Marvel. You buy character decks. So there's all these different character decks, whatever you pretty much want. And they're preset decks, but they can be, you can build your own deck. There's some restrictions. I don't know. I've never built a deck. And then you play against, pretty much you have your deck of your character and you play against a villain who also has a deck and cards. And you're pretty much trying to beat them down by doing, playing your, again, similar. Oh yeah, I guess you can say I kind of know how to play those card games. Similar, you play a card, you do X, A, B, C, D based on the card, and away you go. So Marvel Champions kind of falls under, like, I think it's a it might be an LCG, I think.
A living card game? Yeah, where there's not a collectible nature of it. No. Every deck for each character is the same.
Yep. You could tweak it, but I don't know the extent of how much you can tweak it.
Well, and it's not collectible in that the cards don't have rarities, right?
No. So definitely not tradable or collectible. So Fantasy Flight makes
in theory you could trade anything.
Yeah. You're pretty.
I bought a Loki deck and I don't want it anymore. Can I get your Gambit deck? And you could trade it, but you're not trading individual cards.
No, you're just giving the whole deck.
Yes, it is not a trading card game.
So based on our list, Fantasy Flight Games is three of them on our list. I think Ravensburger, this is their first time ever doing a kind of a game like this with Lorcana.
Yeah, I feel, are they a board game company?
They're a board game company, but they're big on puzzles. That was their whole thing, was puzzles. Any puzzle you see now, it pretty much has their name on it.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're big on puzzles, and they do board games. Like, I have a few actually. Let's see.
German company.
Jaws. I'm looking at my board game shelf as we do this. Jaws. They did Back to the Future, one of the editions. I have a game called Wonder Woman, which was done by Ravensburger. I don't know if I have any more down here that I can see. But yeah, they do board games, but I don't want to say it's their top thing they do. It would be puzzles. Puzzles is their number one. Then probably board games, and this is their first time they ever dipped toes into like a card game.
Well, I mean, it's a good license to have access to.
Yeah, Disney is huge.
Disney has all the money.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't like Disney? You're right. They're making money left, right, and center.
They have all the money, right? So that means, and again, that makes a difference. If you can advertise and people know about your game, then all of a sudden it becomes something, people have to know about a game to play it.
And Fantasy Flight Games is also, they do some board games. So I mean, if Dice Masters went to one of even Wizard of the Coast, Ravensburger, Fantasy Flight, I don't know, it would be interesting how they would take it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, can they
put the light back
make it more popular? Is there something in there, like, if we think about the consistency, like Lorcana's had a lot of press. Magic gets a lot of press. Pokemon gets a lot of press. This Star Wars Unlimited, I've heard a little bit about from people that literally just came out in the last, like a couple of weeks or something?
But a big name, right? Star Wars.
Yeah. But I mean, there was Star Wars, what was it? Star Wars Destiny?
That's the one with the dice? The big dice?
The big dice. You don't roll them though, right?
I don't know.
I don't think they were rollable dice.
I can't remember.
I remember seeing people play it at our local game store when we were playing Dice Masters. But that game is no longer around. So and it had big dice, but I don't think the dice were rolled.
I don't. Maybe you just roll it once. I have no idea. I know they were really big though. But like Dice Masters already has like Marvel, DC, like all we named. So it's not like those are not popular, right?
Yeah, it does say here that there was rolling of dice, but not as much as there is in Dice Masters. Yeah.
So it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting if another publisher had taken it over, how they would spin it.
Or would they even, because of that complexity we talked about of matching dice with cards?
Yeah. It would be a little bit more to produce. But you can it's almost like...
And keeping it affordable.
Yeah. So...
Like when I look at HeroClix, which of course is WizKids' other game, and if you're going to pin a game on me, Kim, pin HeroClix on me. It has the collectible figures and the cards. And the price on that game has continued to go up over the past several years. So they had a price increase a couple years ago because they also made the minis bigger. They changed the scale. But then since then, they've continued to raise the price, I think twice, because there was another price increase. And then coming up, we have the new Masters of Time set, which is a DC Comics themed set. And it's going to be more expensive as well. They've also played with the number of figures in the booster packs, but kept the price the same. So, for example, in the last set, Wheels of Vengeance, they only had 4 figures in the booster, but one of them was guaranteed to be a double base character. So it was twice the size. And then they also played with that in a couple of sets last year. They did 4 figures plus a piece of equipment as opposed to 5 figures in Batman Team Up and also in the X of Swords set, which made it different. The X of Swords OP set, which made it a little bit different because you weren't getting the 5 figures, but the price was still the same. So they've been sort of playing with that. And as the price goes up, HeroClix becomes less affordable and it's a little bit harder to enter into that game.
Now, how significant is the price jump?
So the next set, and nothing's official yet because they haven't. I think there's an MSRP. Let me just double check. I was going to say I think the brick cost is going to go up by about $30. HeroClix MSRP 2024. Masters of Time, because they announced it. Masters of Time booster bricks will retail for approximately $190. So if we look at Wheels of Vengeance, I want to say it was about 160.
That has gone up?
It's gone up by about $30.
Oh, okay.
And then Masters of Time is also going to have fewer boosters. So instead of having 10 boosters in a brick, it's going to have 8 or 9, something to that effect. Because one booster is going to be bigger, or maybe it's like 6 and 1, 7. I'm not exactly sure. I can't remember. But anyway, there's some changes there. But yeah, price increase for less product. Shrinkflation, yo. Just like your Cheerios.
Yeah.
The new box of Cheerios is smaller than the old one for the same price. But we're not going to get into that here because this is a Dice Masters podcast.
Yeah. I mean, if Dice Master was ever bought by a different company, it would be really interesting.
It'd be interesting to see what the prices would be because, like, the cost of making those dice has got to be prohibitive.
Yeah. Cost. Can they spin it around to make it back up popular again? You know what I mean? Like, it would take a lot.
Yeah, and I think it would be really interesting because I think we're getting close, Kim, to the end of our What If series.
I think so, yeah.
Like maybe 1 or 2 more episodes. And then we're going to have a big feedback episode because we've received a ton of feedback about the various what ifs that we've covered off. And it'd be interesting to hear from other players of Dice Masters who also play some of these other games like Magic or Pokemon or Lorcana or Keyforge or whatever games are out there, One Piece. And what are the differences that you see, and are there in advertising and awareness? How do those games get created, published, etc., compared to Dice Masters? So hopefully we can get some more feedback and really do some really great work with the feedback we've been getting.
Yeah. Anything else?
I think that's everything for this topic. I think we've sort of beat it to death here. Anything that you want to add, Kim?
About this? No.
Okay. Anything if you want to add about anything else?
Well, 2-team takedown is continuously going.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing great, as in 0 and 2, but
are you having fun?
Yeah, I'm having fun. I can't get my mechanics to go for some reason. Maybe because I haven't played in so long. Like I almost actually forgot how to play this game. But and then I realized I put a 6 cost on my team, and I'm like, how am I gonna ramp up to buy that? Anyway, so it's been miss a lot of rolls, but it's been fun. I'm playing cards that I find. So I will actually reveal what I'm playing.
Okay.
Because you guessed Orion.
And I guessed wrong.
Right? So no Orion, no Orbital Strike, no Teemo. So my one team is a Guy Gardner team.
Okay.
And my other team is a King Shark team.
Interesting.
Yep. So it's
which King Shark?
So it's the King Shark. It's the King Shark. It's the rare version where he gets +2 and +2 and Overcrush if I have a crossover character active.
Is he the one subtitled "I'm a Shark"?
I think so.
Awesome. That's my favorite.
Yeah. So I do have a cheap crossover. I think it's actually one of the wrestling guys actually, who's cheap and his blank actually. So. Just gotta get it sitting there, and it's not bad stats, but it has not worked out. Like I've rolled 6 dice to purchase King Shark, and I always ended up in 2 games I played 3 times during the game. I rolled a psychic,
of course.
Yep. So honestly, I really haven't gotten to really buy him and actually make him work yet.
Live by the dice, die by the dice. Game.
I know. But it's one of my favorite cards. I love his die too. So it's.
I never would have guessed that.
Yeah, that was a hard one. Guy, there's a few teams out there with Guy, but we all know how Guy works. He must attack. He's pretty cheap. He gets buffs by anything else that's attacking. But people are smart, so they're not keeping him around much. But no, still having fun. It's been a while. It has been a while, but
yeah,
it's good. Also, I've put Weekly Dice Arena on vacation.
I saw your post about that.
Yes, so just due to numbers and participation and things like that. Again, we all talked about the hype in this game, right? So and people could be busy and all these things. So I put it on a vacation until further notice. So there'll be no Weekly Dice Arenas. You can still feel free to play if you want during that time. If somebody wants to play a game or whatnot, go for it. If there are any tournaments happening and, who doesn't want to practice, maybe I'll throw one out there. Just stay tuned in the channel. But for now, it is
on hiatus.
Yeah. And that's it.
We were on a break.
Yep. We broke up, so we're on a break right now.
So there you go. But hopefully people will trickle back in and we'll hear more interest in the game. And in the meantime, we'd love to hear what you think about all of these things, including what if Dice Masters was published by a different company, or the hiatus of Weekly Dice Arena, or how you're doing in the 2-team takedown. And you can reach out to us in all the usual places, which include leaving a comment on our website post over at dm-north.com. You can send us an email to dm-north.com. You can find us on Discord, dmNorthTV, and join our A Double and Dice podcast channel to join the live conversation there. You can find Kim and Matt playing board games on Saturday nights, as well as other times doing things sometimes on YouTube at youtube.com/dmNorthTV, or on twitch.tv/dmNorthTV. You can find us on all the socials, which include X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Threads, all of the things at dmNorthTV. And you can also at me and at Kim on Discord. Kim is at SuperK, and I am at JoStitch, JOCE Stitch. So until next time, on A Double and Dice. What if?
Dice Master.
Kim.
What was I saying? I don't know. Okay.
Dime Masters?
I think I said Dice Bass. I don't know.
You stopped partway through whatever you were saying. Okay.
Because it wasn't master.
All right. We'll just.
I gotta put that on like a reel. Okay, go. Wait 5 seconds ago.